U.S. national security. Also, the beach and terrain here in Cape May share common features with an island such as Haiti. But officials say all that is a coincidence, because this drill has been 2 years in the making.
It's a downsizing of the military, and we're always trying to find ways to actually combine operations to save each of the services money for training.
Our men out here are obviously very pumped up for it.
Over the next 2 days of drills, some of these soldiers will try to take over a beach against hostile forces in the middle of the night. They will drop fake bombs in the Air Force bombing range at Warren Grove, and they will rescue wounded troops in the Delaware Bay. Whatever the purpose of these simulations, the military says it aims to be ready for anything, if and when the president commands. In Cape May, New Jersey, Farland Chang, the 10 o'clock news.
Still ahead, a state Supreme Court justice loses his paycheck.
A new study links a popular barbecue food to at any time if the Simpson investigation heats up.
Well, in case you've been out of town or for some reason haven't noticed, we are in the midst of a record-breaking heat wave. The heat is expected to last through the weekend. Utility companies are prepared for the higher electricity demands that round-the-clock use of air conditioners make. Farland Chang is live now at Pico Energy with more. Farland.
Jill and Rich, the all-time high for energy used was in July of last year. Today almost exceeded that record. Tomorrow is expected to surpass that record. Meanwhile, the young, the old, and the sick face potentially life-threatening conditions. You may recall last year more than 100 people died from the heat. So today, the city is in a heat alert.
Firefighters and police responded to this senior citizen in South Philadelphia who complained of heat stress. She was feeling faint, weak, and nauseous. She was breathing hard. Her skin was dry, and her heartbeat was rapid. Neighbors say she used her fan, but not her air conditioner, because she was afraid of the high cost of energy.
You gotta use it. Don't worry about the electrical bill.
The lieutenant governor agreed, but on non-essential appliances, he asked the public to conserve so as to avoid a power emergency.
We're talking about using your dishwashers and your other household appliances off-peak hours if you possibly can.
Good afternoon, PCA Senior Helpline.
To provide help, the Corporation for the Aging set up a heat line. That number is 215-765-9040. It will be open from 8 a.m. until midnight. Workers and volunteers are being trained. They will also take calls from people who want to donate money for the purchase of fans. Deborah Cooperstein decided to buy one herself and donate it to the Philadelphia Senior Center. If you are using fans, the City Health Department advises you to keep your windows open so air can circulate. You're also advised to do your errands like Evelyn Martin after 4 p.m.
I came out this evening at 4 o'clock so I would beat the heat. Maybe it's a little cooler now, they're saying, but I'm still miserably hot.
Lightweight clothing, light-colored clothing, and loose-fitting clothing.
Leonard Ifrig found the temperature hotter inside than outside. He's waiting for the repairman to fix his air conditioner. But the longer it takes, the sooner his reading material will become reality.
We are back live now at Pico headquarters, and I am joined by Stan Johnson of Pico. Stan, tell me real briefly, how close are we right now to an emergency?
We have enough energy to meet our customers' needs. If we lost a couple of major generating stations, that could put us close to the brink, but we are in good shape right now.
Under what conditions could we see load shedding, power blackouts?
If we lost a couple of our major units, coal-fired units out in the western part of the state, or if this heat wave goes on for a week or two, equipment eventually will break down. So we could have some problems if this heat wave continues for a week or more.
What's the supply of energy right now?
Supply of energy is adequate. We are working with our PJM power pool. We are exchanging energy as part of the normal power pool. Pico Energy is buying some energy and selling some energy.
Stan Johnson, thank you very much. And that is the latest. It's going to be a scorcher tomorrow. Stay cool. I'm Farland Chang, reporting live at Pico headquarters. Back to you, Rich.
All right, Farland, thank you. We all know how oppressive this heat can be, but perhaps nowhere is it more stifling than in buildings which do not have air conditioning. That includes many schools.
7 homes in South Philadelphia tonight.
Cracking down on illegal vendors doing business in one of the city's filthiest parks. The crackdown is aimed at cleaning the park and collecting money for the city. Farland Chang reports.
You're under arrest for selling liquor without a license.
This was the scene today at Fairmount Park, near 9th Street and Hunting Park Avenue. Authorities cracking down on illegal vendors. The sign says no vending, but it is largely ignored. And for years, this section of Fairmount Park has been one of the city's dirtiest. Bottles of beer sold are now bottles of beer littered. State police seized dozens of cases of beer sold out of car trunks. Cars used to transport the beer were also taken.
Put your hands behind your back like you're in cuffs.
10 men were arrested for selling liquor without a license. If convicted, they face fines or jail time. The Department of Licenses and Inspections cracked down on other items as well, from food that is not health inspected to cassettes and perfumes that are bootlegged.
This particular activity is a vending, and it disrupts the peace, tranquility of the residential and the people in the city that use the park quietly.
The city also wants to raise money by getting vendors to obtain permits. It costs about $500 to get started, and then about $350 a year, plus taxes.
We're not trying to put you out of business. What we're trying to do is get you legal and pay your fair share to do business in the city of Philadelphia.
Do you need a license to sell drugs? Do you need a permit to sell drugs?
Lydia Rodriguez and her family say vending goods is far better than selling drugs.
We over here family. Drugs that they go after them. Don't come after us. What we doing?
I take my wife to work in the morning, and out of my house sometimes, I sell a little bit of water ice. Makes a couple dollars. What's a couple bucks?
The city says it can add up to a lot. Underground vendors make up about 40% of the vending market. One vendor promised he would return. The officials promised to do the same. In Fairmount Park, Farland Chang, the 10 o'clock news.
Last night's heavy fog is being blamed for a plane crash in Little Egg Harbor Township, New
Balloon fell to the ground in Geneva. Help people overcome the trauma of a mass shooting at the base last Monday. Today, President Clinton sent his condolences for both incidents, saying they remind the nation of the risks of maintaining military readiness.
Back in Philadelphia, in Carroll Park, it was a celebration for friends and
need for Asian American police officers. As Farland Chang reports, the police department is getting help from the neighborhoods in finding new recruits.
Hello, interesting police officer's job? Here, take a look at it. Think about it. It's a good job.
Officer Han Kuo knows he has a good job, but it is not easy persuading other Asian Americans.
Get killed? You know, you got greater chance to get killed, auto accident than being a police officer.
Many Asian immigrants also distrust the police, who are often corrupt in the old world. Besides that, the children are expected to enter other fields.
Want to be a doctor? All right, well, good luck on that.
The supply of Asian-speaking cops is low, but the demand is high, especially as crime in the Asian American community grows. Korean American grocers are now more likely than any other group in the city to be killed in connection with robbery. Also, Chinese and Vietnamese American merchants are common targets of extortion and home invasions, crimes committed by Asian gangs who prey on their victims' fear of the law. This gang bust came about through Officer Kuo's work in getting one group of victims to finally speak up, something that makes this son of Chinatown proud.
2 months ago, we locked up a group of gangsters. Now the Chinatown are much quieter.
Within the city of Philadelphia, Asian Americans make up about 10% of the population. Within the police force, they make up less than 1%. The city is now trying to change that to better serve the community.
Caucasian policemen, they don't understand our people. So I think a lot of Vietnamese, they do want to join the force and maybe trying to work something out.
Officer Han Kuo speaks 3 languages. He has been a cop for 4 years. He hopes someday to become district attorney, perhaps even mayor. But for now, he is happy by just doing good and getting others to do the same.
Thank you.
In South Philadelphia, Farland Chang, the 10 o'clock news.
Coming up, Iowa Republicans take a straw poll on possible president.
He'd turn us over. He could do that, he was a cop. Skeet and me decided we didn't think so much about that.
A lump under one of O.J.'s arms. As a result, Shapiro got on the telephone with the LAPD to try and buy some more time.
I told O.J. that we had to really get moving. He said he needed some time to talk to his family. He called his children and talked to them. He called his mother and talked to her.
Reality must have really set in for the multimillionaire actor and athlete when his attorney handed him $60 so he would have
excitement.
Especially in 100-degree heat.
Yeah, everybody comes, everybody cheers, everybody leaves exhausted, probably, including the fans, not just the players.
Thanks, Ron.
Okay.
Coming up tonight at 11 o'clock on the Channel 10 News, we will give you the lowdown on home improvements. If you're thinking about making some changes around the house, you need to see this report. We'll give you the do's and the don'ts of remodeling. These stories plus Herb's exclusive Earthwatch forecast tonight at 11 o'clock on the Channel 10 News. And Ron Burke Sports. That's the Channel 10 News at 6. For Herb Clark, Big Al Meltzer, Ron Burke, Ken Matz, the entire Channel 10 News team, I'm Jane Robelo. Thank you for watching. The CBS Evening News with Dan Rather and Connie Chung is coming up next, and we'll all see you again tonight at 11 o'clock.
It has become very popular for automakers to imitate Lexus advertising. But apparently, that's all they've been able to imitate. Because once again, Lexus has been ranked best overall car line in initial quality, and this year, all 4 Lexus models ranked among the top 10 in initial quality, which makes this one Lexus commercial no one can copy.
1 out of every 5 Americans can't even read a story to their child, which is one reason Tic Tac is supporting Literacy Volunteers of America.
Would you read me a story, please?
Yeah. Every day these volunteers are out there teaching adults how to read, and literally in a matter of weeks, people can begin to change their lives and their children's lives.
Is there another guy like that one?
Tic Tac believes in happy endings. Won't you join us to help fight illiteracy?
It comes with a 56-inch diagonal viewing area, stereo sound, noise reduction, and quadra-track for remote operation. It has an optional V8 for fast tracking between stations, 4-wheel anti-lock brakes, and a driver's side airbag. Presenting Jeep Grand Cherokee, the ultimate entertainment center. Available for viewing at a dealer near you. Now save up to $1,750 on select Grand Cherokees.
When you win the Pennsylvania Lottery's Cash 5, you'll get all the cash all at once in one lump sum. It's called taking your lumps. Cash 5. All the cash all at once. When you win the Pennsylvania Lottery's Cash 5, you'll get all the cash all at once in one lump sum. And won't that feel good? Cash 5.
schooled in the Byzantine ways of Washington, a consummate insider who made it clear he's expected to shake things up.
It will not be easy. Changes will be made in consultation with the President, but they will be made in the spirit of making the best use of the talent and abilities that are here.
As for McClarty, he suggested it had all really been his idea to start with, especially with a midterm election coming.
It is essential, I have felt for some time, that we put the strongest possible team on the field in this critical year, and that we put people that in positions that best suit their talents and abilities and their strengths.
The implication of that is obvious. Too many people were not in the right jobs. Alice Rivlin, who now moves up to the job she's long wanted, didn't mind hearing that. But David Gergen suggested he's a little mystified at being shunted off to the State Department for the few months remaining before his planned departure from government.
Frankly, I don't pretend to be an expert in all of the issues of foreign policy. But if I can add an extra voice or an extra dimension to the very fine team you have already assembled, then that would be a privilege to do so.
The major move, of course, is the departure of McClarty, which marks the demotion of yet another of Mr. Clinton's Arkansas friends. In his place, the president gets a seasoned Washington operator, but another terribly nice guy for a job that has never been terribly kind to nice guys. Britt Hume, ABC News, the White House.
One of the very first things on Mr. Panetta's plate, the new chief of staff, is the enormous issue of health care reform. And one of the first things Mr. Panetta did this afternoon, right after being appointed to his new job, was to go to Capitol Hill for a meeting with the chairman of the Senate Finance Committee. That committee, working on a compromise health reform proposal, may hold the key to health reform this year. Here's ABC's John Cochran.
Just when it seemed that moderates on the Senate Finance Committee had killed a key part of the Clinton health care plan, others on Capitol Hill were saying it's too early for the funeral. Last week, a bipartisan group of moderates agreed on a plan without the employer mandates that the president wants. Mandates on employers would force them to provide coverage for workers. But today, sources told ABC News that Committee Chairman Pat Moynihan still believes employers should help pay for coverage.
And so you're going to get government off your back. Panetta was enunciating what he said the theme of the Clinton presidency is going to be, or is in fact right now. It doesn't resonate in the same way. It doesn't get people to stand up and take notice.
So what does he do about that? I mean, does he have any more of an answer than he gave us tonight?
Well, I don't know, and obviously that's something they're going to have to work on. It may turn out to be a brilliant choice, that Panetta is the politician's politician. He knows the Congress very, very well. He's a likable person. If you look at some of the things he did that I reported in this book, early on in the Clinton administration, Panetta went to Clinton and said, look, Mr. President-elect, if you don't lower the budget deficit, there are people in Congress who are going to do it, and they will literally take your presidency away from you. That was very frank talk early on. I suspect he can do that even these days.
But Bob, you know, as you pointed out also in your book, the political types were very unhappy with him for just that focus on the deficit. They said he was putting the deficit first instead of people first. In that kind of an environment and with the very shrunken resources available, is it possible to come out with a message that resonates?
Well, it is possible, and I think one of what has significance here is that the outside political advisors are diminished in authority. I think you are not going to see, as it turned out, confidential memos were going to the president last year from these outside political consultants actually recommending policy options. I don't think Panetta will permit that.
Let's talk, as I did with Mr. Panetta, about the Clinton problem, presiding over endless meetings, failing to come to closure. I got the sense from what Mr. Panetta was saying that he thinks he has an understanding with Bill Clinton.
Well, it would be great. You should have asked him what was the deal and is there a contract and what exactly are the terms of it.
And I'm sure he would have spilled his guts.
He might have, or he might have given some outline. Panetta's not dumb, and I suspect he got a good read. I understand he was up at Camp David and had dinner with the president, Mrs. Clinton, Vice President Gore, Tipper Gore, and went into lots of detail, and so I suspect he has at least an informal contract.
The only question I have about that, though, is as you point out so often in the book, top members of the cabinet, Al Gore, Lloyd Benson, would come to Bill Clinton at some point and say, you know, you've got to get more disciplined. You have to get a plan. You have to get a strategy. He'd say, I know. He might get better for a few days, weeks, months, and then he would slide back to the old Bill Clinton. What makes you think this president of the United States is going to change his personality suddenly?
The stakes couldn't be higher. If this doesn't work, as you pointed out earlier in the show, who do you turn to? Maybe it would kind of show that, to a certain extent, the president has no clothes on these management issues. In the Clinton history, going back to Arkansas, there's a lot about Clinton growing and getting better and understanding what is necessary. This may be a phase of it, or it may not. Happily, we only have to watch and not do it.
Were there other top contenders for the job besides Panetta?
I had heard there was some discussion of Lloyd Benson, who is kind of a management genius when you look at the way he runs the Treasury Department. Very organized, delegates things, does not waste time, but he's so old and senior, somebody, they need Benson in Treasury, so I think he was ruled out.
You know, we have about 30 seconds left, and you've already touched on the impact of all this. Washington loves these shake-ups and tends to exaggerate them. Given all of the issues that are up now, given the fact that we're getting closer to the midterm elections, how important is what happened today for the Clinton presidency?
It's vitally important, and the question is, can Clinton solve the governing problem? Can he convince, not Washington or people around here, but people in the country, that he has a handle on his job, that he has this theme, that he has the definition, and has some clear victories?
Bob, we're going to have to leave it there. Thanks very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
And I'll be back in a moment.
Ever ask yourself, why should you have to wash all the dishes before you wash the dishes? With a Maytag Jet Clean dishwasher, you don't have to. Its 43 powerful jets scrub every surface, it filters the food particles and disposes. Maytag is the dishwasher that asks the question, who needs you?
Where have I heard that?
Maytag, the dependability people.
Maggie started her delivery business on just 2 wheels. Then she got an 800 number from AT&T for just $5 a month. And Maggie's business really started to grow. AT&T 800 service is so easy. No startup cost, no new equipment. Order by July 31st and get 10% off all your 800 calls for a year. Just call 1-800-558-4ATT and watch your business take off for just $5 a month. It works for Maggie. Let AT&T work for you.
You know, a Carnival cruise is the best vacation value going. You can enjoy fun days at sea, fun-filled nights, fabulous food.
Oh, boy, you can say that again.
Great Scott, Willard, what are you doing out here?
Kathy, I'm having the time of my life.
Take a 3, 4, or 7-day vacation on Carnival, the most popular cruise line in the world.
Boy, I can't wait until the midnight buffet.
You think you'll have any room left?
What are you, a comic?
We call this 4-door Nissan Sentra the limited edition. Yet it comes with air, AM/FM cassette, cruise control, power windows and door locks. But perhaps one of its most impressive features is its price. Over $2,000 less than the comparably equipped Toyota Corolla LE. $2,000. So while this edition may be limited, the value never seems to end. Lease the Nissan Sentra limited edition for $189 a month and $500 down for 36 months.
When a customer comes through my line, the first thing I do is I give them a smile. I've probably checked out every item in the store. A customer can come in, tell us that there's a competitor with a lower price, and we will beat that price. I hope that when they leave here, they're satisfied with the service they got from their cashier.
Beautify your home with indoor-outdoor carpet from Argon. It's washable and has a slip-resistant rubber backing. And Argon's great for decks, patios, and high-traffic areas. You'll find it at a guaranteed low price every day at the Home Depot.
We go out of the way to please the customer.
And that's our report for tonight. I'm Chris Wallace in Washington. For all of us here at ABC News, good night.
If you wish a printed transcript of Nightline, call Journal Graphics at 1-800-ALL-NEWS.
Nightline is a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
Tuesday,
I haven't seen you for 3 days.
a cop and his informant get too close for comfort.
You know who this is, don't you? Robert Snitch. You're in the girl's diary. Mike threatening to take a life.
NYPD Blue, Tuesday. Viewer discretion advised.
Some people say if you have to ask what it costs to lease a luxury car, you probably can't afford one. To those people, we say, you can. You can have the safety of dual airbags, air, stereo, power windows and locks, superior fit and finish, and the smooth ride of cars costing twice as much, which may leave those same people asking, how? Lease the Altima GXE. No down payment, $239 a month for 36 months now until July 5th.
I found it. A tire store that won't waste your money or your time. It's called Just Tires. These guys are so good, they offer 30-minute service and the guaranteed lowest prices in town. You heard me. Guaranteed.
Find a lower price, and we'll refund 125% of the difference.
So you save a lot of money, you spend a little time, and you're out of here.
Just Tires. Low prices, fast service guaranteed.
Even as a kid, Matt loved lending people money.
Hey, Matt, got a quarter?
Everybody thought he'd go to work for a bank.
Hey, Matt, can I borrow $10?
Instead, he's the guy at Statewide Capital who gives fast approvals on first mortgages and home equity loans. Matt will even pre-qualify you at no charge.
Hi, we'd like to apply for Matt. He got a quarter?
So for all your mortgage needs, call Statewide Capital at 1-800-DIAL-CASH. Ask for Matt, and it's in the bag.
When is an accident not an accident? When is a coincidence not a coincidence? When is murder just the beginning?
This was going to be taken care of, and now they are here.
Of $1 billion scandal. And when does a reporter
Say they're all shoot.
know too much?
I don't think so.
Think again.
Julia Roberts, Nick Nolte, I Love Trouble, rated PG.
Starts this Wednesday at a theater near you.
Tomorrow.
We've got an explosion, and it's already up to 5.
Welcome to the $1 million movie Fear Strikes Out, starring Anthony Perkins and Carl Malden.
Check with Dave on the weather.
Do you read me? We read you, Rick. The shot looks good. We'll be
The rain's going to stop, but not the wind.
Camera 5, get your shot.
Gary, what do you have? Overtime.
Stand my team coming to you in 4, 3.
Family Matters
Hi, everybody.
is next
Now that's living.
on Philly 57.
Come on, let's go. I need breakfast. And don't shut the... My Kellogg's Corn Pops. My keys. They're locked in. Stay calm. Smooth move.
Maybe we could call for help.
Yeah, sure. Help! I want my Corn Pops. Oh, like sweet popcorn. I could be having them now. But thanks to the little dweebette, I'm locked out. My pops are locked in. And what am I gonna do? I was gonna do that.
Kellogg's Corn Pops cereal is part of this complete breakfast.
I gotta have my pops.
Tough day, huh, kiddo?
We're doing fractions and math. And Gracie Gibson kissed me on the playground in front of everybody.
Ah, sounds like you need a bedtime story.
Mom.
Car chases?
Cool.
When your day needs a little turnaround, Blockbuster has 9,000 ways to make it a Blockbuster night.
How about another story?
Yeah, I got one. With boys kissing girls.
The fun starts here, right here at Hershey Park. It's the thrill of the coaster, the splash of the tide, the kisses and laughter, a carousel ride. It's the sweets and the shows, parades in the sun. It's clean and green, it's family fun. The fun starts.
Followed by Action News at 11.
Look at the 94 Ford Ranger. Looks a lot like the 93. Well, the 93 was a good truck, yeah, in 93. But this Chevy's an all-new design with more horsepower and more head and shoulder room with a cargo bed that's deeper and wider than the Ranger. Ford's got to have something the new Chevy doesn't. It does. Uh-huh. A higher price. That Ranger's about $500 more. That's it. I'm going to his local Chevy Geo dealer. To save $500, it's worth comparing. Go see for yourself at your local Chevy Geo dealer.
'Cause you got personality, personality, talk, personality, smile, personality, charm.
Look at Dixie now. New mix and match designs let your own personality shine through. Express your mood. Express your style. Dixie makes every day new.
And you got personality, personality.
Grandpa Chef, tell us how basketball used to be.
Well, the basket wasn't always 20 feet tall.
What about 100-yard courts?
Not even close.
What happened?
All sport.
New All Sport. Unsurpassed taste. A third more carbs than Gatorade for energy. This is a body quencher.
After all sport, the game was a breeze. Until they put in the moving basket.
All Sport. The game will never be the same.
The latest news, weather, and traffic tomorrow at 6 a.m.
O.J. Simpson back in court as arguments over the evidence begin. Thousands of refugees fleeing from Haiti. A new dilemma for the Clinton administration. And something new in your weather forecast. A sun danger index.
From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Reporting tonight from Washington, Forrest Sawyer.
Good evening. O.J. Simpson was in court today for a hearing to discuss evidence gathered in the murders of Simpson's former wife and her friend. Much of the debate today centered on the defense's desire to have access to the evidence and on complicated scientific analysis that may help determine if Simpson was at the scene. We begin with ABC's Bill Redeker.
It was a routine evidence hearing, but at times it took on the appearance of a full-blown trial. O.J. Simpson and his attorneys argued that the prosecution should split the evidence so they could conduct their own tests.
We want to conduct our own tests at our own laboratory, let them conduct their tests at their laboratory.
Prosecutors wanted a sample of Simpson's hair to compare with those found at the murder scene. The defense agreed to the request because legally they had no choice. But they countered by asking for a sample of the hair recovered from the murder scene.
To the extent that our experts indicate that there to be shared from the crime scene with the defense, I have no problem with that.
For the most part, both sides got access to the evidence each wanted. In all, more than 60 pieces of evidence were collected from the murder scene at Nicole Simpson's townhouse. The prosecution has analyzed all but 2 items, fingernail scrapings from the body of Nicole Simpson and blood-stained gloves, one found at the murder scene, the other at O.J. Simpson's property. More testing will be required.
It's very difficult to determine where the stain is because these are dark brown gloves and we're talking about blood. So that may have to wait until they actually are submitted to the laboratory for DNA testing.
Prosecutors said they were not ready to submit DNA tests at the preliminary hearing, which is scheduled to begin Thursday. But they say they have enough evidence, enough witnesses to go ahead anyway. For the defense, today's hearing was important because it forced prosecutors to share all of the evidence.
No one is saying, and I'm not saying, that the district attorney in this case is hiding the ball. But you have to be sure that you are doing everything possible to make sure you have what you are entitled to.
There were new developments today about the phone call made between Nicole Simpson and her mother on the night of the murder. The coroner's investigator reported that the two last talked at about 11 p.m., which O.J. Simpson's lawyer says supported his alibi that he was at home at the time. But Nicole Simpson's father, Lewis, told ABC News that his wife was mistaken, that she had actually talked to her daughter at about 10 o'clock that night, not 11. Eventually, telephone billing records may help clear up the discrepancy. Bill Redeker, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Despite the widespread public belief that so-called DNA fingerprinting is virtually foolproof, the courts are not nearly so certain. DNA evidence is admissible in 20 states. California is one of them. But two appeals courts in California have ruled recently that DNA tests should not have been allowed in criminal trials because scientists disagree about their reliability. ABC's Ken Kashiwahara on the controversy.
In Virginia, serial killer Timothy Spencer was convicted and executed after 3 DNA tests verified that semen found at the crime scenes came from him. After spending 11 years in a New York prison for rape
and wireless communications, only one company lets you be there with all this technology right now. So in case you were wondering, oh, a pin, there's the call? Yes, that was a pin.
Who's going where? The 1994 NBA Draft. Live tomorrow, 7:30 Eastern on TNT.
Hello, I'm Susan Rook at CNN Center in Atlanta. We will return to Larry King Live in just a moment, but first, in this update on a breaking development in the O.J. Simpson case. There is a search going on right now at Simpson's home. Authorities have not said what they are looking for or anything, if they found anything. Metal detectors, though, were used to search bushes outside of the house, and Simpson's black Rolls Royce was towed away from the grounds. Details, including a live report from the scene, coming up at the bottom of the hour. That's on World News. Larry King Live will continue right after this.
Soon, a new voice will be heard across the land. Yours. Talk Back Live this summer on CNN.
We were moving. Margaret called and said if we put both our new house and car policies with her, we could save some money.
We have so many choices at Nationwide, and it's my job to make you aware of your options.
There's always somebody here, and sometimes all you need is an answer.
That's the way we're trained. Be knowledgeable, but be there.
Nationwide is on your side.
For all your insurance needs, call me, Rich Cording, at 487-0733.
What do you mean our business is down from last year? We spent a ton of money on newspaper ads and direct mailings. We tried everything.
Everything except cable. Maybe now you should call that cable AdNet rep.
Right. We need a hard-hitting commercial to get us back on track. Are you a small business owner in the city and have considered advertising on television networks such as these, but thought it was too expensive? Why not call cable AdNet today at 668-2020 and get the facts? Cable advertising is the key to successful local advertising for small businesses like yours.
And now for something completely different. The Box, music television you control. It's new TV for a new world. A phone call to the Box puts you in charge, because you choose the music that rocks the box. Turn to the Box, the only channel where you choose all the music all the time. So get into something completely different. The Box, music television you control.
Gettysburg, the motion picture event that captured the heart and
turns to television for 2 unforgettable nights. Turner Network Television proudly presents the world TV premiere of Gettysburg, Sunday, June 26th and Monday, June 27th on TNT.
This is CNN.
We're back on this special 90-minute edition of Larry King Live with the 4 candidates for the United States Senate, the incumbent Senator Chuck Robb, and challengers Doug Wilder, independent, Marshall Coleman, independent, and the Republican candidate, Oliver North, Arlington, Virginia. Hello.
Hi. My first part of the question is the views of each of the candidates on term limits, and then I have a follow-up.
All right, term limits, Marshall.
Well, there's one term I think we need to limit, and that's the term of Senator Chuck Robb. 6 years is enough for him.
The general term limits.
Well, I think it is a way for us to let people get their business done, and I think it's a way for us not to have careerism in Washington, because when people get there, they forget that their obligation is to the people who sent them there, and that's why they start voting for big taxes and big spending. Yes, I would.
Both houses?
Yes.
Doug?
We have term limits in Virginia for the office of governor. You can't run but one term. But I tell you what it does. It frees you. It gives you the flexibility not to worry about re-election, and you can get a number of things done and do what you choose to do. I've come to see, however, that it's something that's caused a great deal of cynicism around the nation, because of the nation's voters, and I've come to the view that I support term limits.
Ollie?
Term limits, got to have them.
Chuck?
I don't think they're going to be the silver bullet everybody thinks they are. I'm nominally not in favor of them, but I won't lose any sleep if we have them. There are a lot of very good people that could take the places of those few that might be somehow precluded from serving a full term.
Second question, ma'am, quickly.
Colonel North,
Yes.
those of us who would like to help and volunteer would like to know how to get in touch with you.
My campaign headquarters telephone number. Let me get the number out and make sure I get it right. 1-800.
Well, we're not going to do this. We're not going to do this.
Okay.
Of evidence to move the case along. Trace?
The Simpson case has catapulted the issue of domestic abuse into the national spotlight. Now some members of Congress are trying to make sure it's addressed in the upcoming crime bill. A group of Democrats today challenged lawmakers to pass a tough provision aimed at ending domestic violence.
The Congress can send a powerful and positive message to women. And the message is as follows. This violence is not your fault, and you will finally have support in your community, and the perpetrators will be held accountable.
Among other things, the group is pushing for a law that would prohibit anyone convicted of spouse abuse from owning a gun. In Harrisburg, state senators have adopted a bill to help protect victims of domestic violence. The bill would create a statewide registry to keep track of orders filed against abusers. The bill would also require Pennsylvania to enforce out-of-state court orders.
A rookie Philadelphia police officer is being arraigned tonight on charges that the police commissioner calls appalling. Kevin Powell of the 22nd District, a one-year veteran of the force, is being charged with rape. Police say Powell was patrolling the area of 29th and York in North Philadelphia between 3 and 4 in the morning on May 10th. That's when he allegedly picked up a woman in her 20s who was walking on the side of the street. She says he drove a short distance, then pulled over and raped her in his patrol car.
Well, obviously, when you're dealing with a crime such as rape, first one, it's appalling that anyone would commit a crime, and certainly it's tremendously appalling that a police officer would commit this kind of a crime.
Commissioner Neal says Officer Powell has been suspended without pay for 30 days, and then he will be fired. The 37-year-old officer turned himself in this afternoon. Well, it was the kind of scene that makes a police officer's heart thump today as a wild car chase made its way through 3 counties. When it was over, 2 police officers were hurt, and the man they were chasing was in jail. Steve Coleman reports.
This was the aftermath of the chase that led police officers from several jurisdictions through miles of Bucks, Philadelphia, and Montgomery counties. It ended only when the suspect car and police cruisers from Lower Moreland and Philadelphia crashed on this suburban street corner.
He was on the opposite side of the street and went to turn a corner and the police car hit him.
Police have charged 42-year-old John Hall with assault for allegedly injuring a Philadelphia cop while trying to escape after the collision, which came just minutes after another officer had also allegedly been injured by Hall in Bucks County. It all started around 3 o'clock at this Acme market. A police officer was responding to a shoplifting call. He had just completed that arrest when someone told him that around the corner there was a man passed out at the wheel of his car.
I went to check on his safety, and while I was talking to him, I noticed prescription pads in the car. Looked like they were stolen. I started talking to him, started the car up, and tried grabbing the keys, and he drug me across the parking lot a little bit.
Officer Krimmel sustained minor injuries. He called for backup as Hall fled the scene, driving erratically.
The pursuit came into Philadelphia, wherein we became involved as well. We monitored their pursuit in Philadelphia, and the pursuit terminated at this point here, 9700 Bridle Road, wherein the suspect, in an attempt to get away, rammed one of our vehicles as well.
Police say Hall's Nissan getaway car was stolen, and they are investigating the drug connection as well. Officer Krimmel says one of the doctor's prescription forms in the Nissan read Percocet, a powerful painkiller. Hall was clearly dazed and disoriented this afternoon, though officials don't know whether that was caused by drugs or Hall's jarring run-in with the law. In Northeast Philadelphia, Steve Coleman, the 10 o'clock news.
With their legal troubles mounting, President and Mrs. Clinton are asking Americans to help them pay their attorney's fees. Today, the White House announced it is setting up a legal defense fund for the first family. People can contribute up to $1,000 each to help the Clintons battle their legal problems. The fund appears to be an admission of the Clintons' concern over the federal Whitewater investigation and a sexual harassment lawsuit filed against the president.
Well, I think it's a rather unprecedented circumstance. The president will be faced with potentially large legal bills, and it's, I think, in the best interest of the country and the presidency to have those bills paid.
Myers says the fund was carefully crafted so that it does not create any conflicts. Experts say the Clintons' legal bills could top $2 million.
The rising tide of Haitian refugees is forcing the United States to reopen a mass refugee center in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. From Friday to Monday, almost 2,500 refugees were intercepted off the coast of Haiti. The four-day total eclipses the number for all of 1993. The White House announced tonight that the recent rush of boat people has overloaded a processing center aboard the U.S. ship in the Caribbean. U.S. officials say the latest wave of asylum seekers has not yet crested.
With peace efforts in Bosnia falling apart, the United Nations is threatening airstrikes against the Serbs again. Fighting in central Bosnia has been on the rise lately. Hundreds of Bosnian Serbs were evacuated from the town of Zenica today. About 400 elderly men and women as well as children were taken to Muslim territory. Canadian peacekeeping soldiers supplied the trucks used in that evacuation.
The Pentagon is sending 3 mine-hunting ships to the Korean Peninsula to bolster U.S. military forces there. Officials call the action purely defensive. The move comes just as North and South Korea set a date for a history-making summit. The two countries will sit down July 25th in an effort to resolve mounting tensions, mostly over nuclear power.
The hottest political race in the country these days is in Virginia, where 4 big names are squaring off in that state's U.S. Senate race. Tonight, the candidates debated on CNN's Larry King Live. Democrat Chuck Robb is the incumbent. His Republican opponent is Iran-Contra figure Oliver North. Former Democratic Governor Douglas Wilder is running as an independent, as is longtime Republican State Attorney General Marshall Coleman.
4th of July savings explosion. DuPont Stainmaster Plus, just $9.99 installed.